project has changed significantly from those original estimates. So we contacted the Pinery, indicated to them that we now have a hard number based on tender results, and that we need to know whether their commitment level would remain what it would be, considering the change in the total cost of the facility. So we had, and it was just some email and some phone conversations with the M&R and with John Swick at the Pinery about how the tender results numbers were arrived at. Were there other provincial funding coming in, or other funding that was being brought into the facility? We mentioned the Green Municipal Fund. His initial reaction that we can't double dip on that. So could we remove those components? So we ran some numbers as to what from the tender, what the green components were, and netted it out. So we were looking at their share of the overall facility. I think in the original agreement was 13.2%, I think, of the original 2006 agreement. But because of the proportionate shares had changed because of the partnership, it turned out it was a 10.8%. So Janet ran the numbers. We ran the numbers by the M&R folks and waited for their determination about it. I said, council's not made a decision whether it's going single train or double train. And they looked at the numbers. They indicated they were relatively comfortable with the numbers given that the scope of the budget allocation that had been given by the cabinet for the Pinery project. They had a global budget for the Pinery project, which involved installing their collection system, a component of the force main project that would get the sewage to the existing lagoons, and then a component that was based on the cost estimate for the sewage treatment facility itself. And so we went through that process of discussions about the revised prices and so on and so forth. Their estimates for the single train and double train that I have here, 2.91 or 2,091,000 and 2,006,000. They are hard to read. 686, I think it is. Thousand. Fall within the global budget the M&R has for the Pinery project, and they said we're comfortable with that. We want to hear how this project, obviously, when the numbers become firm, then there would be an adjustment to a formal correction of the agreement. So that's what I indicated when I presented the numbers originally to council at the previous meetings, was that these were estimates based on latest discussions with the Pinery Provincial Park in terms of their contribution.
Just to follow up, I understand your rationale, but those numbers and those calculations were not provided anything given to council or to the ad hoc committee. So we don't know where those are coming from, and it's
I did brief the ad hoc committee.
Not those calculations, not those percentages and all of the calculations, which is really important to understand. We need to see something in writing.
Absolutely. This was to provide council with a snapshot. This is not. There's, as I said in the previous meetings, there are still so many variables in play here that it's very difficult to say to the Pinery, say, look, we want to confirm this in writing with you now, and then turn around and change. Well, we made a couple more changes, and this is the new number. So these are all shaping up, but we are contacting. Part of our responsibility under the agreement was to keep the M&R briefed about changes and costs and so on and so forth with the project. We've done that. It should have been done, quite frankly, earlier. It's just one of those things that when we started looking at putting together the financial information on the project, and we started asking ourselves and examining the numbers, we asked ourselves where did that number come from? And so that took us back to the original agreement, the calculations and the dialogue between Bill and the M&R in terms of capacity and the whole 9 yards. So
it's not in writing. It's not in writing, that's what you're saying.
Right.
Oh.
The agreement is still with the
agreement.
Percentage isn't in the agreement. It is not in the agreement. I have reread this agreement. It doesn't say the percentage.
No. I have other documentation in terms of the dialogue with the Pinery that we can present to council.
Russell?
Could you explain, John, the deferred benefit zone 3 and 4 to me in a nutshell?
Well-
I mean, I understand the deferred benefit is in that cost, but this one says a 5-year, right? And then up in the total share, you went for standard type longer share. It was just sort of a snapshot for a
Yes.
5-year period?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether there's any rationale for 5, Dan, other than,
It was just
Stick that.
a snapshot.
Yeah, it was just a sample.
It was just a snapshot. So could you explain that to us per lot? Sean?
I guess when we asked Gary and we were discussing about what other financing alternatives was, obviously on the wastewater rates, on the taxes, another option that some people do in terms of is a local improvement process where you assess
Yep.
based on lot size and lot frontage, or what was referred to, and this was mentioned both by Gary and I think Barry Card, about a deferred benefit approach, which was to recognize that,
But using another legislative
yes,
vehicle. Thank you. Keep going.
no, it was just to acknowledge that in the original design for the plant, there were, how many zones, 5 zones? 4 zones? 4 zones. Yeah, Blue Water, South Huron, and 2 in Atlantic Shores. That was the original design concept. That plant could meet the needs of those areas. A way of doing it, because the discussion is still ongoing, as you know, the ad hoc committee is still reviewing alternatives, whether to do sewers at all, whether to do, what kind of collection systems and so on and so forth. And the approach that is sometimes taken by municipalities is to assess what's referred to as a deferred benefit, that we're not, it's essentially saying to people in zones 3 and 4, we're not extending sewers out to you now, or in the foreseeable future, not in our capital planning, but we are building a sewage treatment facility that is capable of serving your needs when and if you do connect. And so, in an acknowledgement of that deferred benefit, that is, the deferral means that deferred when we can actually extend out collection systems to them. They would have a benefit from the financing that's currently available, the 2/3 funding for this facility, and opt in for, correct me if I'm in error here, for paying the upfront costs over a lump sum or a 5-year period of time, whatever, or an extended period of time, that reserves them capacity in the sewage treatment facility component of whatever future plans are made. So their focus would simply say, would we focus on the collection systems and how they would be paid. In a way, Grand Bend did a form of that with the Southcott portion of Grand Bend. There was a deferred benefit in terms of access.
1979?
Yeah, I'm not sure the year.
Early 90s.
Oh, this is a different, the rest of Southcott or Christie Inn?
Off of Lake Road.
Just
The old village part of Southcott,
Yes.
right? Okay. Christie Inn,
And
okay.
I think it was to acknowledge that, I think it was access to, actually to the pump station there, in turn get there, so that the residents in that area were assessed
Deferred benefit.
something along
Similar
lines
type
of
of.
deferred.
So really what we got here is $832, and that's the share of, is on page 2.
Yes,
$832 is the share, the net of the zone 3 and 4's part of the total project, correct? So what we have here is a figure finally that says that even if we don't build, your share per lot is $832 of the SDP. That's the simplest
if we
way
don't
of
build
putting
the
it.
collection system.
No, I understand, this is the SDP only. Okay, so it's $832 per lot, right? Just so everybody's correct about that. On page 2.
That's for the single train.
Single train, yeah. I was just looking at the single train, but it's only for the other, but anyway, just to get that straight. Of course, it's 2,500 on the other page,
Yeah.
but that's just really small with the 2 trains. But thanks for that explanation. So in terms of how we would do that,